19mm socket, remove the wheel, take the lug nuts off. Take the wheel off. There should be some push pins right here, here, and here. You're gonna wanna take those out. This vehicle doesn't have those. Then I'm gonna take this bolt out right here. I'm gonna use a 7mm socket. I'm just gonna pull this panel out of the way a little bit. There's gonna be a bolt behind here, trying to take this panel off, and then there's bolts right there. There's a 10mm socket, take those both out. And we can take that out. I'm gonna remove the serpentine belt using a belt tool with a 15mm socket on the end of it. Tensioner is up here. Just get on the tensioner, loosen it up, and take the belt off. Take a 15mm wrench, remove the drain plug. Make sure you have a drain bucket underneath so you can catch the oil. Oil's drained out, put the drain plug back in. We don't really have to snug this back up, but I'll just snug it up. I want to remove this bracket. I'm going to take this bolt out first. I'm going to use a 13mm socket and a ratchet. Take that out. And there's a bolt here, a bolt up here, and then a bolt on the front side. Take those out. The 13mm socket. And slide that bracket right off. Now I'm going to remove all these small bolts that surround the oil pan. I'm going to use a 10mm socket. And these two bolts right here are going to be 12mm. There's a little notch right here that you can take a small pry bar or a small screwdriver and just pry it off. Pry it out a little bit. And just get in there and try to pry it down. Just like that. You might want to keep a drain bucket underneath because it is going to drip a little bit. And just pull it down. I'm going to take a little brake parts cleaner, try to clean some of this off. Spray some on a rag, wipe it off. And try to get some of the drips off. Now you want to take a scraper and scrape off any excess RTV. Or you can use a razor blade. Just be careful with a razor blade. You don't want to gouge the metal, and you don't want to cut yourself. Just take the new pan, just wipe it down with some brake parts cleaner or alcohol. Just make sure it's nice and clean. That's good. Then I'm going to use some RTV. You're going to want to follow the directions on the can. About 1/4 of an inch bead all around the pan. Just make sure you go around all the bolt holes, both sides. Right, so just make sure you cover up all the areas, about 1/4 inch bead all the way around, following the directions on the silicone. And I'm just gonna wipe my surface area real quick because sometimes some oil drips. Get those areas using a little bit of brake parts cleaner. So that's all set. Take my pan and just carefully slide it in position. Take the bolts, get the bolts started. These longer bolts go right here. And there's these 3 holes. There's a hole here, a hole here, and a hole here. Those are for the bracket, so we'll put those on later after we torque all the bolts down. Now on the directions on our silicone, it says to tighten these up finger tight and then wait 1 hour, and then we're gonna torque the bolts down. Now I'm going to go around and tighten these smaller bolts to 105 inch-pounds. Make sure you're on inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. These two bolts I'm going to tighten to 195 inch-pounds. Now I'll install this mount. Slide that in position, get the bolts started. It's 3 that go up through the oil pan. And before I tighten those all the way, put the bolt that goes through the AC compressor in. And then just snug these all down evenly. And that's good. Now we're going to reinstall the serpentine belt, get that all lined up. It's a little bit easier to get the belt on the idler pulley right here versus over the crankshaft pulley. So just loosen that up and get that on there correctly. That looks good. Just make sure it's on all the sprockets or all the pulleys. And they look good. And just double check the drain plug. I'm going to use a 15mm socket and torque this to 30 foot-pounds. So while you're doing this job, it's a good idea to replace the oil filter. So I'm going to replace the oil filter. Just use a strap wrench, remove it. Make sure you have a drain bucket underneath in case any more oil comes out. And not really any more came out. Double check, make sure there's no gasket up top there. You don't want to double gasket it. Just take a rag and wipe this. I'm going to take the new filter, take a little bit of fresh engine oil and wipe it on the seal. That way the oil filter will come off easier next time you take it off. And then once it's just finger tight, then you're going to tighten it another quarter turn. That's good. Now we're going to take this side cover, reinstall this, put the bolts in up here, and the bolt on the inside here. Alright, and reinstall the bolt that goes right here. And just push some push pins in there. I already put these other two in. There we go. And install the wheel. I'm going to torque these lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds, and I'm going to do it in a star pattern so that it tightens the wheel down evenly. And I'll just go around again and just double check. And pull the oil cap off. Install a funnel. And you're going to want to use the appropriate oil. You can check your owner's manual to see what kind of oil to use and how much. And remove the funnel. Put the oil cap back on. Now you want to start the vehicle for about 10 seconds and then shut the key off. Let it sit for about a minute or two, and then you check your oil level. We can pull the dipstick out, take a rag, wipe the dipstick off, reinsert the dipstick all the way down, and pull it back out. And you want it in between that safe zone where the hash marks are. Right in the middle is preferable, if not a little bit on the higher side.